Hello and welcome to Raju Notes channel, your pit stop for weekly current affairs updates. The updates tailor-made for students taking all kinds of competitive exams like UPSC, civils, defense and placement interviews. Please subscribe to the channel and stay updated every Sunday. Vladimir Putin was sworn in for a new 6-year term as Russia's president on 7th May at a ceremony inside the Grand Kremlin Palace in Moscow. Already in office for nearly a quarter century and the longest serving Kremlin leader since Joseph Stalin, Putin's new term doesn't expire until 2030, when he will be constitutionally eligible to run again. Putin, in March this year, had won a landslide victory in a tightly controlled election, following the 2022 invasion of Ukraine that has become Europe's biggest conflict since World War II. Russia has been heavily sanctioned by the West and is turning to other regimes like China, Iran, and North Korea for support. The Israeli military has seized control of the Rafah border crossing between the Gaza Strip and Egypt on 7th May. Authorities said its tanks pushed into the southern Gazan town of Rafah after a night of airstrikes on the Palestinian enclave. However, the ceasefire negotiations with Hamas remains precarious. The development came after hours of whiplash in the Israel-Hamas war, with the militant group yesterday saying it accepted an Egyptian-Qatari mediated ceasefire proposal. Israel, however, insisted the deal did not meet its core demands. The looming operation has raised global alarm over the fate of around 1.3 million Palestinians crammed into the city and threatened to widen a rift between Israel and its main backer, the United States. Sri Lanka has sealed a 20-year power deal with Adani Green Energy Limited of India. Sri Lanka's cabinet of ministers have approved the project under which 2 wind power stations will be deployed and developed by Adani, marking a crucial step towards sustainable energy solutions. The approval granted last year for Adani's $442 billion investment in 484 megawatt wind power plant underscores the growing partnership between the two nations in the renewable energy sector. As part of the deal, Adani will receive 8.26 cents per kilowatt hour, that is approximately 7 rupees, as announced by Sri Lankan government. This collaboration comes amidst Sri Lanka's efforts to address energy challenges, including power blackouts and fuel shortages experienced during its economic crisis in 2022. Russia on 7th May announced to hold a military exercise that will include practice for the use of tactical nuclear weapons after what the defense ministry said were provocative threats from Western officials. The ministry said that the exercise was ordered by President Vladimir Putin and would test the readiness of non-strategic nuclear force to perform combat missions. It was the first time that Russia has publicly announced drills involving tactical nuclear weapons, though its strategic nuclear forces regularly hold exercises. The Russian announcement appeared to be a warning to Ukraine's Western allies about becoming more deeply involved in the more than 2-year war. Tactical nuclear weapons include air bombs, warheads for short range missiles, and RT munition, and are meant for use on a battlefield. They are less powerful than the massive warheads that arm intercontinental ballistic missiles and are intended to obliterate entire cities. Covishield makers AstraZeneca withdraws its COVID-19 vaccine globally. AstraZeneca has initiated the worldwide withdrawal of its COVID-19 vaccine, as multiple variants COVID-19 vaccines have been developed since the pandemic. There is a surplus of available updated vaccines, the company said on the decision. Earlier, Covishield makers AstraZeneca admitted that its COVID-19 vaccine can cause side effects such as blood clots and low blood platelet count in a rare cases. India sends 3 naval ships for operations deployment to South China Sea. Indian naval ship Delhi, Shakti, and Kiltan led by Rear Admiral Rajesh Dankar, arrived in Singapore on Monday. This visit is part of the operational deployment of Indian Navy's Eastern Fleet to the South China Sea. This visit is poised to further strengthen the long standing friendship and cooperation between the two maritime nations, India said. India becomes first country to receive over $100 billion in remittances. India received about $111.22 billion in international remittances in 2022, becoming the first country to reach 100 billion mark. United Nations International Organization for Migration said. India was followed by Mexico with $61.10 billion, followed by China with 51 billion, Philippines with 38.5 billion, and France with $30.4 billion. Remittances are money people working abroad send to their countries to support their families. Indian President Draupadi Murmu today presented the Padma Awards at the second civil investor ceremony at Rashtrapati Bhavan in New Delhi. The President conferred Padma Vibhushan upon renowned artist Dr. Vaijayanti Mala Bali and Telugu film actor Konidela Chiranjeevi. The first woman Supreme Court judge in Asia, M. Fatima Bibi, was also presented with the Padma Bhushan posthumously. Renowned cardiologist Dr. Ashwin Balachand Mehta and veteran political leader O. Rajagopal were also given the third highest civilian honor. Togdan Rinpoche was also given a Padma Bhushan posthumously for his exemplary contribution to the field of spiritualism. Padma Shri was conferred upon Joshna Chinnappa for her contribution in the field of sports. K. Chelamal received the Padma Shri award in the field of agriculture. Hindustani classical vocalist Somdat Battu and sculptor A. Velu Anandachari also received Padma Shri, among others. India has seen the second most significant decline of 7.82% in the majority of population, only next to Myanmar with its immediate South Asian neighborhood from 1950 to 2015. A working paper of the Economic Advisory Council to the Prime Minister EAC-PM said. India has witnessed an increase in the share of minority groups such as Muslims, Christians, Buddhists, and Sikh, and a decline in the share of Jain and Parsis. The panel said that Hindu population share was 84.68% in 1950, which came down to 78.06% in 2015. Between 1950 and 2015, Muslim population increased by 43.15% and the Christian population by 5.38%. The paper provided a detailed cross-country analysis of a share of religious minorities in 167 countries. It said minority population have shrunk substantially in Bangladesh, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Bhutan, and Afghanistan. The share of the majority religion dominations for 167 countries has on average reduced by 22% from 1950 to 2015. In a first, a British toddler had hearing restored after she underwent a pioneering gene therapy trial. Doctors say this marks a significant development in treating deafness. Opal Sandy received an infusion which had a working copy of a faulty gene. The surgery took only 16 minutes, and now the toddler can hear almost perfectly. 8-month-old Opal suffered from a auditory neuropathy, which is a condition that affects nerves impulses that travel from inner ear to the brain. This usually happens due to a faulty gene. Indian Army is to stop imports of all ammunition from next year. The Indian Army is aiming to stop all imports of ammunition from next financial year as the domestic industry has ramped up its capability to meet all demands and is even poised to bag a chunk of the global market, a senior procurement officer had said. In the next financial year, we will not have any import of ammunition, he further added. Indian Foreign Secretary Vinay Quatra was on a 2-day official visit to Bangladesh. He arrived in Dhaka on Wednesday evening. This was the first official visit to Bangladesh after formation of the new government in January 2024. During the visit, the Foreign Secretary called on Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina on Thursday morning and Foreign Minister Dr. Hassan Mahmood. He also met his counterpart, Masood bin Mohammed. The visit to Bangladesh is keeping in line with the highest priority accorded to India's neighborhood first policy, said a press release issued by the Ministry of External Affairs on Thursday evening. During the visit, the Foreign Secretary reviewed the wide ranging bilateral relationship, including political and security, water, trade and investment, power and energy, defense, connectivity, and sub regional cooperation. European Union and India held their 14th counter-terrorism dialogue on 7th of this month in New Delhi. The External Affairs Ministry said that the dialogue was an opportunity to continue and enhance cooperation on the important elements of the European Union-India strategic partnership. The European Union and India strongly condemn terrorism in all forms and its manifestations and emphasize the need of strengthening international cooperation in dealing with counter-terrorism challenges. In this context, they agreed that cooperation in multilateral fora such as the United Nations and Global Counterterrorism Forum remained crucial. India fully withdraws soldiers from Maldives. India completed withdrawal of all its soldiers from Maldives just ahead of May 10th deadline set by President Mohammad Muizzu. The last batch of Indian soldiers stationed in Maldives have been repatriated. Meanwhile, Foreign Affairs Minister of Maldives, Musa Zamir, arrived in New Delhi on a 3-day visit. He met External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar and discussed issues on bilateral and regional issues of mutual interest. External Affairs Ministry said Maldives is key maritime neighborhood in our Indian Ocean region, and Foreign Minister Zamir's visit is expected to lend further momentum to the bilateral cooperation between the two countries. And now for the segment where we see the events that unfolded itself this week back in history. 5th May 1862, Mexican victory in the Battle of Luba. On this day in 1862, Mexico repelled the French forces of Napoleon III at the Battle of Luba, a victory that became a symbol of resistance to foreign domination and is now celebrated as a national holiday, Cinco de Mayo. 6th May 1937, Hindenburg disaster. On this day in 1937, while landing at Lakehurst, New Jersey, on its first transatlantic crossing of the year, the German dirigible Hindenburg burst into flames and was destroyed, killing 36 out of 97 persons aboard. Seventh May 1663, Theatre Royal opened. The Theatre Royal, built by the dramatist Thomas Killigrew for his company of actors and now commonly known as Drury Lane Theatre, opened in London this day in 1663 and is the oldest English theatre still in use. 8th May 1945, World War II in Europe ended. Following Germany's unconditional surrender, World War II in Europe officially ended at midnight on this day in 1945, although the war in Pacific continued until the Japanese surrendered in September. Ninth May 1502, fourth and final voyage of Christopher Columbus launched. On this day in 1502, Master Navigator and Admiral Christopher Columbus, long considered the discoverer of the New World, set sails from Cadiz, Spain, on his fourth and final voyage, hoping to find a passage to Asia. 10th May 1994, Nelson Mandela inaugurated as President of South Africa. Nelson Mandela, whose effort to end apartheid led to his imprisonment in 1962 to 1990 and earned him a share with F.W. de Klerk of the 1993 Nobel Peace Prize, became President of South Africa this day in 1994. "11th May 330, New Rome established by Constantine. On this day in 330, Constantine I dedicated Byzantium, now Istanbul, as a new capital of the Eastern Roman Empire, an act that helped transform it into a leading city of the world.
Well, that's all, friends, for this week's updates. See you soon next Sunday on the same channel. Till then, take care. Bye bye.